Fading alien twins and two dogs lay in the snow. Then the human did the unthinkable. Elias had never seen a planet like this. The sky was a pale, icy blue, and snow stretched endlessly across the plains, broken only by jagged, frozen cliffs. The wind cut sharply against his face as he trudged through the snow, scanning the horizon with his portable sensors. He had come here for research, to collect rare ice crystals for scientific study, but the readings his instruments were picking up now were unlike anything he had encountered before. A faint signal, almost like a heartbeat, flickered on his device. At first he thought it was a glitch. The readings were inconsistent, almost fading in and out, as though something small and fragile was struggling to survive. He adjusted the sensors, squinting through the falling snow, and followed the signal across the frozen tundra. Then he saw them. Two tiny figures lay on the snow, their bodies trembling uncontrollably. At first, Elias thought they might be small animals, but as he approached, he realized they were not. They were alien twins, blue-skinned, their bodies small and delicate. Their wings, almost transparent, lay stiff against their backs, covered in frost. Beside them, two dogs, their fur silver and sparkling in the weak sunlight, lay flat, their breaths shallow and slow. Elia's heart jumped. The twins' eyes flickered weakly, a soft light that seemed to pulse with their failing energy. The dogs whined quietly, nudging the twins with their cold noses. The human instinct to protect them surged in Elias. He had seen many fragile creatures before, but never anything like this. These twins were so small, so vulnerable, and yet there was a strange resilience in their eyes, a tiny spark that refused to die. He dropped to his knees, ignoring the icy wind that bit through his clothes. Carefully, he wrapped his arms around the twins, feeling their tiny bodies shivering against his chest. One of the twins opened a weak eye, a faint glow spreading across its skin. Elias spoke softly, his voice barely rising above the howl of the wind. "I've got you. You're safe now. I won't let anything happen to you." The twins' wings twitched slightly as if responding to his words. The dogs moved closer, pressing their bodies against him, sensing a protector. Elias realized immediately that the only way to save them was to give them warmth, human warmth, and to act fast. He stripped off his coat, leaving the bulky outer layer behind, and wrapped it around the twins and the dogs. Even with the coat, their bodies were dangerously cold. Their skin had a faint bluish tint, and the twins' breathing was shallow, almost imperceptible. Elia's mind raced. He had heat pads in his kit and a small portable oxygen mixer, but setting them up in these conditions would be difficult. He scooped the twins and dogs carefully, placing them against his chest as he struggled to his feet. Each step through the snow was exhausting. The wind tried to push him back, and his boots slipped on the icy surface. But he refused to stop. He imagined what would happen if he hesitated. If the twins lost even a little more energy, they might not survive. Finally, he reached his small research shelter. It wasn't much, just a dome-shaped structure with insulated walls and a compact heating system, but it would have to do. Elias set the twins down gently on a blanket, covering them with more layers. The dogs lay beside them, still trembling but calmer now that they were out of the wind. Elias worked quickly, connecting the oxygen mixer to the twins, adjusting the flow carefully. He could see faint, irregular patterns in their breathing on the display. It was enough to keep them alive, but it wasn't enough for them to recover fully. He had to find another way to give them strength. He sat beside them, holding one twin's tiny hand in his. The alien skin felt cold but soft, almost like delicate glass. The twin blinked slowly, and Elias could see a flicker of recognition in the glowing eyes. "You're safe," he whispered again. "You don't have to be afraid." The twins responded in small, melodic sounds, alien in nature but strangely musical. Elias smiled faintly. Even in their weak state, they were trying to communicate. One of the dogs nudged his hand, pressing its head gently against him. Elias laughed quietly, despite the urgency of the moment. These creatures had not only survived the freezing cold, but had recognized him as someone who could help. Hours passed. Elias monitored them constantly, adjusting the heat pads and blankets to ensure the warmth spread evenly. He fed them tiny amounts of nutrient gel, specially designed for fragile alien physiology. Each small movement from the twins, each slight wag from the dogs, felt like a victory. The twins' wings twitched with life, and their faint glowing eyes brightened just a little. Outside, the snowstorm continued, relentless and unforgiving. Elias knew that if he had waited even a few minutes longer to find them, none of this would have been possible. His mind wandered briefly, thinking about the uniqueness of humans. No alien species he had studied had shown the same instinctive drive to protect and nurture. It was more than survival, it was empathy, a deep care for life, even when it wasn't his own. By the time the night settled over the tundra, Elias had managed to stabilize them. The twins lay close to his chest, their breathing slow but steady. The dogs, now warmed and more alert, curled up beside them. Elias felt exhausted but alive in a way that only comes from doing something truly necessary, something that could not wait. He continued speaking to the twins, telling them stories of his world of warmth, light, and safety. They responded with faint, melodic hums, their wings fluttering weakly. He felt a connection forming, a bridge between human and alien, one built on trust and care. Through the long night, he watched them. The twins' skin glowed brighter with each passing hour, a sign that their energy was returning. The dogs wagged their tails slightly, pressing against him as though to confirm that life could continue. For the first time in days, Elias felt hope. When the first light of dawn touched the icy plains, Elias looked down at the twins and smiled. Their wings twitched stronger now, catching the pale light. The dogs barked softly, their silver fur shining in the early rays. Against all odds, they had survived, and it had not been technology alone that saved them. It had been warmth, patience, and human care. Elias realized something profound. Here, on this frozen planet, he had seen the extraordinary potential of humans. Not in weapons or strength, but in empathy and action. He had acted when no one else could, and it had made the impossible possible. The twins stirred, blinking their glowing eyes at him. One of them reached out a tiny hand and touched his face. Elias froze, moved beyond words. They were beginning to recognize him not just as a rescuer but as a friend, a protector. He returned the touch gently, a promise that he would not abandon them. Outside, the wind howled and snow continued to fall, but inside the small shelter, warmth and life thrived. Elias knew that this was only the beginning. The twins and the dogs had survived the first night, but the days ahead would test them all. Yet, in that moment, hope was enough. And the human heart, he realized, could make miracles happen even in the coldest, harshest places of the galaxy. The hours passed in quiet care. Elias fed the twins more nutrient gel, adjusted the oxygen carefully, and watched as their wings twitched stronger with each touch. The dogs ran short circles in the shelter, playful but cautious, sensing the fragile balance of life around them. Each small heartbeat, each faint glow in the twins' eyes felt like a victory. As the day stretched on, Elias ventured a cautious smile. He spoke gently to the twins, telling them about warmth, sun, and safe places. They responded with faint hums, their bodies slowly regaining energy. The dogs, now fully alert, stayed close, guarding their small companions with a loyalty that amazed Elias. By evening, the twins had grown stronger, and their wings moved with purpose. They attempted small flutters, and Elias laughed softly, clapping his hands. The snow outside continued to fall, but within the shelter there was life, hope, and connection. Elias knew then that humans were capable of extraordinary acts. The power of care, of empathy, of choosing to act when others would hesitate, could bridge worlds. He had discovered it here, on a frozen alien planet, with two fragile twins and two loyal dogs. Against the odds, they had survived, and it was human warmth that had saved them. He sat back, holding one twin close and watching the dogs nuzzle the other. For the first time that day, he felt a quiet satisfaction, a deep understanding of what it meant to protect life. The storm outside was fierce, but inside they were safe, alive, and beginning to trust. And in that trust, Elias saw the promise of something more, something extraordinary that humans could offer the universe. The next morning, Elias woke to the soft glow of the twins' wings. They were stronger now, their small bodies no longer as stiff, their eyes flickering with curiosity. The dogs stirred beside them, stretching their silver fur and wagging tails tentatively. Elias felt a quiet relief wash over him. He had expected a difficult night, but the fragile creatures had endured, and in their endurance, they had begun to trust him. He carefully adjusted the blankets around the twins, making sure they were warm but not overheated. He had learned that their physiology was delicate. Too much heat could be as dangerous as too little. The twins responded to the warmth, their wings fluttering slightly, casting soft patterns of light on the walls of the small shelter. Elias smiled, realizing that even the smallest signs of life were victories. After a moment, he sat back and observed them. They were looking at him with wide, glowing eyes, and one of the twins reached out a tiny hand, trembling slightly, and touched his sleeve. Elias held his breath, then gently pressed his hand to theirs. It was a quiet exchange, but in it, he felt a connection that crossed worlds. These beings, alien and fragile, had come to recognize him not just as a rescuer but as someone they could trust. Elias knew he had to keep them safe, but survival wasn't just about warmth and oxygen. They needed nourishment. He opened his kit and prepared small doses of nutrient gel, specially formulated for delicate alien life. The twins eyed it cautiously, their tiny faces full of uncertainty. Elias smiled softly. "It's okay," he said. "This will help you grow strong again." With patience, he coaxed them to eat. One by one, they accepted the gel, and Elias watched their strength return slowly. The dogs, sensing the twins' improvement, began to move more freely, wagging their tails and nudging Elias' legs. It was a small moment of normalcy in an otherwise extraordinary situation. For the first time, Elias felt as though life here could begin to thrive again. Outside, the storm had not fully passed, but the wind was less violent, and the snow fell in soft, steady flakes. Elias realized he could not keep them confined forever. They needed to experience the world, even this harsh one, in order to regain their strength fully. But he also knew that exposure to the cold too soon could be fatal. He decided to wait until their bodies had recovered enough to withstand even brief moments outside. He spent the day with them, talking softly, singing quiet human songs, and demonstrating simple movements to encourage them. The twins watched with rapt attention, their wings twitching in response to the gestures. They tried to imitate his actions, and though their movements were clumsy, Elias could see improvement. It was remarkable how quickly they adapted. He realized that humans were capable of inspiring trust and learning across species, even when words could not bridge the gap. As evening approached, Elias decided to make a small fire in a contained area of the shelter. The flickering flames cast dancing shadows across the walls, and the twins stared at the light with fascination. Elias watched them carefully, noting the subtle changes in their wing colors as the warmth and light reached them. The dogs sat close, their heads resting on their paws, content to share the warmth. The twins began to hum softly, a melodic sound that filled the room with gentle music. Elias listened intently, marveling at the complexity of their language and the emotion it carried. He could not understand the words, but he felt the meaning behind them: gratitude, curiosity, and a tentative joy. He hummed back in response, creating a simple rhythm, and the twins' wings fluttered more rapidly. It was a small, joyful interaction, a bridge between species created through sound, warmth, and care. Night came again, and Elias prepared for another long vigil. He monitored the twins' vital signs, adjusting the oxygen and heat levels, ensuring that they remained stable. The dogs lay close to the twins, guarding them silently, their silver fur reflecting the dim light. Elias felt a quiet pride. He had learned something essential. Survival was not merely a matter of technology or preparation. It was about patience, understanding, and empathy. The twins, now a little stronger, began exploring their immediate surroundings. They crawled over the blankets, their small hands gripping and letting go, their wings stretching tentatively. Elias encouraged them gently, guiding their movements without forcing them. Each successful attempt to move, to reach, to explore, was celebrated with soft words and smiles. The dogs barked quietly in approval, their energy returning along with the twins. By morning, the twins were attempting small flutters again. Elias held his breath as one lifted slightly off the blanket, wobbling but managing to stay airborne for a few seconds before gently landing. He clapped softly, and the twin looked at him, eyes wide and glowing. Elias laughed quietly, a sound of pure relief and joy. The dogs barked happily, running small circles around the room, their silver fur gleaming. Elias realized that the twins' recovery was not just physical but emotional as well. They were beginning to trust him fully, responding to his gestures, his voice, and his presence. The connection they had formed was extraordinary, a bond that transcended species and worlds. He marveled at how humans could inspire trust, care, and resilience, even in beings so alien and fragile. As the days passed, Elias continued to nurture the twins and dogs. He introduced simple games, encouraging them to move and interact. The twins learned quickly, their wings growing stronger, their coordination improving. The dogs became playful companions, teaching the twins balance and movement through gentle nudges and encouragement. Elias watched them, amazed at the rapid progress they were making. He began to think about the future. The twins could not remain confined forever, but the outside world was harsh and unforgiving. He needed to prepare them for survival beyond the shelter. He designed small exercises, teaching them to flap their wings for short bursts, to navigate small obstacles, and to respond to his signals. The twins were quick learners, their resilience and intelligence shining through. One afternoon, as the storm outside subsided, Elias decided to let them experience the snow for a few minutes under careful supervision. He guided them to the entrance, keeping them close. The twins hesitated at first, their tiny feet sinking into the snow, but Elias encouraged them gently. One of the twins reached out a hand, and Elias held it, supporting their weight as they took tentative steps. The dogs ran ahead, barking softly, leading the way and showing the twins that the world could be safe with guidance. The twins' wings began to flutter more confidently, lifting them slightly above the snow with each step. Elias felt a surge of pride and wonder. Against all odds, they were adapting to an environment that would have been deadly just days before. The human ability to act with empathy and courage had transformed fragile lives into ones filled with potential and hope. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias guided them back into the shelter. The twins and dogs were tired but exhilarated. Elias wrapped them in blankets and prepared a warm meal of nutrient gel. They ate eagerly, their strength returning with each bite. Elias watched them carefully, noting every improvement, every sign of life thriving against the odds. That night, as Elias sat beside them, he reflected on what he had learned. Humans had a unique power, not through weapons or strength, but through care, empathy, and the willingness to act when others would hesitate. By giving warmth, attention, and protection, he had saved 2 alien lives and inspired 2 loyal companions. The bond they shared was more powerful than anything he had imagined. The twins, now more confident, reached out to him again, their hands touching his face, their wings brushing against his arms. Elias responded gently, holding them close, feeling the connection deepen. The dogs curled beside them, their breathing calm, their eyes alert but relaxed. The small shelter was filled with warmth, light, and a sense of family that transcended species. Elias realized that the storm outside was no longer the most dangerous thing on the planet. The real challenge had been fear, fragility, and the possibility of giving up. He had not only survived but had enabled life to thrive. The twins and dogs were no longer fading in the snow. They were alive, learning and growing stronger every hour. The following days were filled with training, play, and exploration. Elias encouraged the twins to flap, to hover, and to interact with the dogs. Each success was celebrated with laughter, soft words, and gentle touches. The twins' wings grew stronger, their coordination improved, and their trust in Elias became absolute. Elias knew that he had created something extraordinary. Not just life, but hope, connection, and resilience. The twins and dogs had survived the impossible, not because of luck, but because of human care, ingenuity, and compassion. And as the sun rose over the icy plains each morning, Elias felt a deep satisfaction, knowing that he had changed the course of lives forever. By the end of the week, the twins were almost fully recovered. Their wings lifted them easily, their eyes glowed brightly, and their movements were confident. The dogs played joyfully, guarding them and guiding them with gentle nudges. Elias watched, marveling at the transformation. What had once been fragile, fading life was now strong, vibrant, and full of potential. Elias understood something profound. Humans had a gift that extended beyond their world. The ability to nurture, to protect, and to inspire resilience in others, no matter how different they were, was a power unlike any other. On this frozen alien planet, he had witnessed it firsthand. He had acted when no one else could, and in doing so he had created life, hope, and a family that spanned worlds. As night fell once more, Elias sat beside the twins and dogs, holding them close. The storm had passed, and outside the planet glowed under the soft light of distant stars. Inside, life thrived, and the bonds between human, alien, and animal had grown unbreakable. Elias smiled, knowing that the adventure was far from over. But for now, they were safe, alive, and connected in a way that transcended words, species, and even worlds. Days passed, and the small shelter had become a lively place of warmth and laughter. Elias woke early, the first rays of the distant sun stretching over the frozen plains, and watched the twins practice hovering in the soft morning light that filtered through the dome-shaped walls. Their wings, now strong and full of color, caught the light in patterns that shimmered like glass. The dogs ran alongside them, playful and protective, leaping into the snow and barking joyfully, urging the twins to mimic their movements. Elias smiled, feeling a deep sense of fulfillment. The twins had grown stronger, their eyes glowing brighter with each passing day. Their wings lifted them easily now, and the smallest movements were no longer wobbly attempts but confident gestures. Yet Elias knew they still had much to learn. This planet, though beautiful, was harsh and unforgiving. He could not shield them forever. They needed to learn resilience, observation, and the way to respond to their surroundings. He began designing simple exercises. First, he encouraged them to flap their wings while standing on the soft blankets, supporting their tiny bodies with gentle hands. One twin laughed, a melodic, musical sound that filled the room, and flapped harder, hovering a few inches above the blankets. Elias clapped, his heart swelling with pride. The dogs barked in excitement, jumping and circling around the hovering twins. Each success became a small celebration. Next, Elias guided the twins outside for very brief excursions. The snow had softened and the winds were calmer than before. He led them step by step, holding one twin in each hand as they felt the cold snow beneath their tiny feet. At first, they hesitated, their glowing eyes wide with uncertainty. But with gentle encouragement, they stepped forward, each movement growing more confident. The dogs ran ahead, barking softly, guiding them through the snow, showing that exploration could be safe and even fun. As the days continued, Elias introduced small challenges. He created tiny snow mounds for the twins to hover over, encouraging them to navigate obstacles with care. He taught them to sense the wind's direction, to use their wings to balance, and to coordinate movements with the dog's guidance. Each success was rewarded with laughter, soft words, and the warm glow of human encouragement. The twins began to recognize patterns, to respond quickly, and to anticipate the results of their actions. Elias also took time to communicate in new ways. He noticed that the twins responded not only to words but to gestures and tone. He waved slowly, then quickly, demonstrating patterns of movement. The twins mirrored him, imitating gestures and adding their own variations. It was a simple form of language, a bridge between human and alien that required patience, observation, and empathy. The dogs participated too, nudging the twins into the correct position, turning learning into play. In these moments, Elias realized the depth of human potential. The ability to inspire learning, to instill confidence, and to nurture growth across species was something rare. He had come to this frozen planet for research, but what he discovered was far more extraordinary. The power of care, patience, and guidance to transform fragile life into thriving life. One morning, as the sun rose over the icy plains, Elias decided it was time for a longer outdoor exercise. The twins had grown confident enough to manage the cold and navigate simple obstacles. He led them to a gentle slope outside the shelter, the snow soft and untouched. The twins hovered above the snow, wings flapping steadily, while the dogs ran ahead, their silver fur shining under the sunlight. Elias watched, holding his breath. The twins attempted short flights, rising higher than before, gliding over the snow and landing gracefully. Their laughter, musical and pure, echoed in the crisp morning air. Elias felt tears prick his eyes, overwhelmed by joy. They were no longer the fragile, fading creatures he had found in the snow. They were alive, vibrant, and learning to thrive in a harsh environment. The dogs barked in encouragement, circling around them, protective yet playful. After the exercise, Elias led the group back to the shelter. The twins were tired but exhilarated. He prepared a warm meal of nutrient gel, and they ate eagerly, their bodies replenished with the strength needed for the next challenge. The dogs, now full of energy, rolled in the snow outside before returning to rest beside the twins. Elias watched them carefully, noting the small improvements each day: stronger wings, brighter eyes, more confident movements, and increased trust in him. Elias also began to teach the twins about observation. He showed them how to watch the wind, the patterns in the snow, and the way light reflected off ice. They learned quickly, their glowing eyes flickering with understanding. The dogs participated as guides, nudging the twins toward points of interest, demonstrating through playful action what Elias was explaining. It was a slow, gentle learning process, but it worked. The twins absorbed every lesson with eagerness, adapting their movements and behavior with surprising speed. One evening, after a long day of practice and play, Elias noticed a small change in the twins' behavior. They began to explore independently, flapping across the shelter with confidence, landing safely, and interacting with the dogs without hesitation. They even began experimenting, trying new movements and gestures, their curiosity growing stronger with each success. Elias watched, amazed at their resilience and intelligence. They were no longer dependent solely on him. They were learning to navigate the world themselves, supported but not constrained. Elias realized that the bonds formed during these days were extraordinary. Trust had developed into something deeper, a connection that transcended language and species. The twins recognized him not only as a protector, but as a companion, someone who cared for them deeply and encouraged their growth. The dogs shared in this bond, loyal and playful, a bridge between the human and alien world. Together, they had created a small family, united by care, patience, and shared experiences. The twins also began to communicate more clearly, using melodic sounds and gestures that Elias slowly learned to understand. He responded with simple words, gestures, and soft hums, creating a dialogue that was meaningful even without a shared language. Each interaction strengthened their bond, encouraging the twins to experiment further, to test their limits, and to grow stronger. Elias marveled at the adaptability and intelligence of these tiny beings, realizing that empathy and guidance could unlock potential in ways that force or technology could not. As the weeks passed, Elias introduced more complex exercises. He set up small obstacle courses outside the shelter, encouraging the twins to navigate terrain, hover over small gaps, and land on precise spots. The dogs ran alongside, providing playful guidance, showing the twins how to approach challenges with balance and care. Each success was celebrated with laughter, glowing wings, and joyful barks. Elias felt a profound sense of achievement. What had begun as a desperate rescue had grown into a thriving environment of learning, trust, and joy. The twins' growth was extraordinary. They learned to coordinate movements with each other, flapping in unison, navigating obstacles together, and even helping each other balance. The dogs played an integral role, teaching teamwork, alertness, and patience. Elias observed silently, marveling at the natural intelligence and adaptability of the creatures. Against all odds, they were thriving in an environment that had initially threatened their very survival. One afternoon, Elias decided to teach the twins about problem solving. He set up a series of small challenges: a snow mound blocking a path, a reflective ice patch that required careful balance, and a low wind gust to navigate while hovering. The twins approached each challenge carefully, observing, adjusting, and experimenting. They learned quickly, their glowing eyes reflecting concentration and understanding. Elias encouraged them gently, clapping and praising each successful attempt. The dogs nudged them, showing playful guidance, making the exercises both effective and enjoyable. By the end of the day, the twins were confident and independent. They flapped over obstacles, hovered in place, and even played small games with Elias and the dogs. Their laughter filled the shelter, echoing in the crisp air outside. Elias felt a deep satisfaction, realizing that he had not just saved lives, he had nurtured growth, resilience, and joy. The twins and dogs were thriving, alive in body, mind, and spirit. Elias also recognized something profound about humans through this experience. He saw that human care could cross worlds, species, and cultures. The ability to empathize, guide, and nurture could create life, hope, and connection in ways that no technology alone could achieve. The twins' transformation was proof. Life could flourish under guidance, trust, and love. As night fell, Elias settled beside the twins and dogs. He held one twin gently in his arms while the other rested nearby, wings flitting softly. The dogs curled beside them, their breathing calm and even. Outside, the icy plains were quiet, the wind having softened into a gentle hum. Inside the shelter, warmth, laughter, and life filled the space. Elias looked at them and smiled, knowing that he had helped create something extraordinary: a family, a connection, and a safe place where life could thrive. He whispered softly to the twins, telling stories of warmth, safety, and friendship. They responded with soft, melodic hums, their wings flickering brightly. The dogs pressed against him, protective yet relaxed, and Elias felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was not merely survival, it was growth, learning, and joy. And he realized that his actions, simple as they seemed, had changed the course of their lives forever. As he drifted to sleep that night, Elias knew that the adventure was far from over. The twins and dogs had grown strong, but the world outside was vast and unpredictable. They would need continued care, guidance, and trust. Yet he felt confident. Together, they had already overcome the impossible, survived the harshest conditions, and formed bonds that transcended species. And Elias knew that, with patience, love, and understanding, they could face anything the world might bring. The sun rose slowly over the icy plains, painting the snow with soft shades of pink and gold. Elias stretched, feeling the quiet calm of the morning, and looked over at the twins. They were perched on the edge of a small ice ridge, their wings flickering in anticipation, while the dogs ran ahead, playful and alert. Today, Elias had decided, would be the first day they would explore beyond the shelter for a longer period. The twins had grown strong and confident, and it was time for them to experience more of the world. He prepared a small pack with nutrient gel, blankets, and water, securing everything carefully. The twins watched curiously, their glowing eyes wide with excitement. Elias knelt down and spoke gently. "We're going outside today, further than before. I'll be with you the whole time. Everything will be okay." The twins hummed softly, a melodic response that seemed to echo excitement and trust. The dogs barked softly in agreement, running circles around them in anticipation. The first steps outside were cautious. The twins hovered just above the snow, wings flapping slowly to maintain balance. Elias stayed close, guiding them with his hands and voice, encouraging each attempt. The dogs led the way, bounding ahead and circling back, ensuring the twins stayed on the right path. The frozen landscape stretched endlessly, with hills, ridges, and sparkling ice formations. Elias had never appreciated the beauty of this planet so fully until he saw it through the twins' eyes. Their wonder mirrored his own. They approached a frozen stream, the ice shimmering like glass under the sunlight. Elias knelt down, showing the twins how to hover just above the surface, their reflections mirrored below them. At first they wobbled, wings flapping uncertainly, but with his guidance, they managed short flights across the ice. The dogs ran alongside, playful yet careful, demonstrating balance and movement. Laughter and melodic hums filled the crisp air, a harmony of life echoing across the frozen plain. Elias watched them, his heart swelling with pride. They had come so far from the frail, shivering twins he had discovered days ago. Their wings were strong, their eyes bright, and their curiosity boundless. The dogs barked in approval, nudging them gently whenever hesitation slowed their movement. Elias realized something profound. Resilience, trust, and love could create miracles. The twins' growth was proof of the extraordinary potential of life when nurtured with care and attention. They continued exploring, moving carefully toward a nearby ridge. The twins hovered over small snowdrifts, their wings flapping with increasing strength. Elias encouraged them, clapping and speaking softly, celebrating every success. The dogs ran ahead, barking and rolling in the snow, their energy infectious. The twins imitated them, learning playful maneuvers that strengthened their coordination and confidence. As they reached the top of the ridge, Elias paused. From this vantage point, the frozen plain stretched endlessly, the sun reflecting off snow and ice like diamonds. The twins' wings fluttered in awe, and Elias smiled. He had seen the world through their eyes for the first time, not as a place of danger, but as a place of wonder. The dogs barked happily, circling the twins, sharing their joy. Elias decided it was time to introduce a new challenge. He guided the twins to a gentle slope leading down from the ridge. Hovering over the slope required focus, balance, and coordination, and he wanted to encourage their growth. The twins looked at him with trust, their glowing eyes flickering in anticipation. Elias held one twin gently, steadying their tiny body while the other hovered beside them. The dogs ran ahead, demonstrating safe routes, playful and attentive. With careful guidance, the twins began their descent. At first the movements were uncertain, but Elias whispered encouragement and clapped in approval. Slowly, they gained confidence, gliding gracefully over the slope, wings flapping steadily. The dogs barked joyfully, circling and running alongside, ensuring that the twins felt supported and safe. Elias felt tears prick his eyes. He had seen their growth day by day, but witnessing them navigate this new challenge was a profound moment of joy. After the descent, they reached a small clearing surrounded by icy mounds and sparkling ice formations. Elias set down the blankets and nutrient gel, giving the twins and dogs a chance to rest and refuel. The twins sat closely together, wings fluttering gently, while the dogs lay nearby, relaxed but alert. Elias watched them eat, marveling at their adaptability and intelligence. They were thriving in an environment that had seemed impossible just days ago. During the rest period, Elias began to teach the twins about observation. He pointed to patterns in the ice, small movements of snow caused by wind, and the way light reflected across surfaces. The twins watched intently, their glowing eyes flickering as they absorbed every detail. The dogs nudged them playfully, reinforcing lessons through gentle guidance and interaction. Elias realized that this simple act of teaching, combined with patience and care, was helping the twins develop skills essential for survival. After a while, Elias suggested they play a game. He set up a small path marked by snow mounds and ice patches, encouraging the twins to navigate it while hovering, landing carefully and following the dogs' playful cues. The twins laughed, melodic sounds carrying across the snow, and Elias clapped in encouragement. Each successful attempt brought confidence and joy. The dogs barked happily, circling the twins and nudging them when hesitation slowed their progress. As the day progressed, Elias noticed a new quality in the twins. They began experimenting independently, testing their wings, flapping higher, hovering longer, and exploring more daring maneuvers. They were learning from observation, trial, and the guidance of the human and the dogs. Elias marveled at their resilience and intelligence. Life, he realized, was adaptable, capable of growth even in the harshest environments when nurtured with care and trust. The sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows across the snow. Elias guided the group back toward the shelter, carrying the twins carefully when necessary. The dogs ran ahead, playful and alert, ensuring the route was safe. The twins hovered beside him when possible, their glowing eyes filled with curiosity and joy. They had experienced the vastness of the frozen plains, learned new skills, and bonded more deeply with Elias and the dogs. Back in the shelter, Elias wrapped the twins in warm blankets and prepared a meal of nutrient gel. They ate eagerly, their bodies replenished, wings fluttering with renewed energy. The dogs lay beside them, alert but relaxed, protective and playful at the same time. Elias sat back, watching them recover, feeling a quiet satisfaction. He had not only guided them through survival but had nurtured growth, confidence, and joy. The night passed peacefully. Elias stayed close, monitoring the twins' breathing and movements, adjusting warmth and oxygen as needed. The twins had grown more confident, their wings flitting gently even in sleep, and the dogs curled around them protectively. Elias realized that the shelter was no longer just a place of safety. It had become a home, a space of learning, exploration, and bonding. The following morning, Elias introduced another layer of challenge. He set up a series of small flights, guiding the twins to navigate obstacles, hover over gaps, and land on precise spots. The dogs ran alongside, demonstrating movement and balance, playful and attentive. The twins responded with enthusiasm, their glowing eyes flickering as they tested each new exercise. Elias encouraged them with soft words and laughter, celebrating each success. As days turned into weeks, the twins became remarkably skilled. They could hover for extended periods, land with precision, and navigate small obstacles with confidence. The dogs remained playful and protective, guiding the twins and reinforcing lessons. Elias watched them, amazed at their growth. These tiny beings, once fragile and fading in the snow, had become vibrant, intelligent, and resilient. Elias also noticed their personalities emerging more clearly. One twin was curious and bold, always exploring new angles and attempting daring maneuvers. The other was careful and thoughtful, observing and calculating before acting. The dogs complemented them perfectly, playful, alert, and supportive, providing guidance and companionship. Elias smiled, realizing that life, when nurtured with care and patience, could flourish in extraordinary ways. One afternoon, as the sun glinted off the ice, Elias decided to teach them teamwork. He set up a series of small challenges requiring coordination, hovering together, navigating gaps simultaneously, and following a pattern while balancing. The twins learned quickly, communicating through gestures, sounds, and instinct. The dogs participated actively, showing the twins the value of cooperation through playful guidance. Laughter and melodic hums filled the clearing, a celebration of connection and growth. By the end of the day, Elias felt a profound sense of accomplishment. The twins and dogs had grown beyond mere survival. They were thriving, learning, and exploring with confidence. They had developed skills, trust, and a deep bond with him. Elias realized that humans could inspire and nurture life in ways no technology could achieve. Care, patience, and empathy had transformed fragile lives into vibrant, intelligent beings. As night fell, Elias sat with the twins and dogs, reflecting on their journey. The storm outside had passed completely, leaving the snow glistening under the stars. Inside the shelter, warmth, life, and joy thrived. The twins' wings flickered gently, the dogs lay alert yet relaxed, and Elias felt a deep, abiding satisfaction. He had not only saved lives but had created a world where growth, trust, and connection could flourish. Elias whispered softly to the twins, telling stories of warmth, exploration, and friendship. They hummed in response, their wings glowing brightly. The dogs pressed close, protective yet playful, and Elias smiled. He knew that the adventure was far from over, but for now, life was thriving, and the bonds they had formed would carry them through any challenge the future might bring. Morning broke with a soft, golden light over the frozen plains. Elias woke early, as he had every day, and glanced at the twins. They were perched near the edge of a small ridge, wings flickering in the gentle sunlight, their glowing eyes full of excitement. The dogs ran ahead playfully, eager to start another day of exploration. Today, Elias felt, would be special. The twins had grown strong and confident, and it was time for a new challenge, a longer journey across the plains, testing everything they had learned. He prepared a small pack with nutrient gel, blankets, and water, securing it carefully. The twins watched intently, humming softly in anticipation. Elias knelt and spoke gently. "Today we will explore farther than ever. I will be with you every step. We will face the world together." The twins' eyes flickered brightly, wings twitching as they absorbed his words. The dogs barked softly, circling them in agreement, excitement radiating from every movement. Their first steps outside were cautious but confident. The twins hovered just above the snow, wings flapping steadily. Elias walked beside them, guiding with his hands and voice, offering encouragement when needed. The dogs ran ahead and circled back, playful yet attentive, ensuring the twins stayed safe. The frozen landscape stretched endlessly, glittering under the morning sun. Elias noticed the twins' expressions change as they saw the vastness before them. Curiosity, joy, and wonder mingled in their glowing eyes. They reached a series of gentle slopes, a perfect opportunity to test their control and coordination. The twins hovered over the ridges, landing lightly on the snow, and then lifted off again with steady flaps. Elias clapped softly, his heart swelling with pride. The dogs ran beside them, barking joyfully and leaping into the snow. The twins attempted playful maneuvers they had learned in previous days, gliding and hovering, exploring their limits with delight. As they moved farther, Elias introduced a small frozen stream. The twins approached cautiously at first, watching the ice shimmer under the sunlight. Elias demonstrated hovering just above the surface, steadying their movements with his hands. One twin hesitated, wings trembling slightly, but Elias whispered encouragement. Slowly, the twin flapped higher, hovering a few inches above the ice, then landed carefully on the opposite bank. The other twin followed, more confidently this time. Elias clapped in celebration, and the dogs barked happily, circling the twins and joining in the joyous moment. The twins' confidence grew with each success. They began experimenting with their wings, testing new movements and hovering for longer periods. They laughed and hummed, their melodic sounds echoing across the snow-covered plains. Elias watched, amazed at how far they had come. The fragile, fading creatures he had discovered days ago were now strong, intelligent, and curious, capable of exploring the world independently. The dogs ran alongside, playful and protective, providing guidance and companionship. After navigating the stream, Elias led them to a small hill with a gentle slope on the other side. He had designed it as a test of coordination and teamwork. Hovering down the slope required focus, balance, and communication. The twins looked at each other and Elias, then nodded subtly. Together they lifted off, flapping in unison, and hovered steadily down the slope. Elias cheered softly, proud of their teamwork and growing skill. The dogs ran alongside, weaving between the twins, offering playful encouragement. In the clearing at the bottom of the slope, Elias allowed them a brief rest. The twins and dogs huddled together, wings fluttering gently, silver fur gleaming in the sunlight. Elias prepared nutrient gel for them, watching as they ate eagerly, replenishing their energy. He realized that the twins' growth was not just physical but emotional as well. They had developed confidence, curiosity, and trust, not only in him but in each other and the dogs. After resting, Elias suggested a small game to strengthen their coordination further. He set up a series of markers, requiring the twins to hover in patterns, navigate small obstacles, and land precisely. The dogs participated actively, demonstrating movement and providing gentle guidance. The twins approached each challenge with enthusiasm, communicating through melodic hums and gestures. Each success was celebrated with laughter, glowing wings, and joyful barks. Elias felt a profound sense of accomplishment. As the afternoon progressed, Elias decided to introduce a new element: observation. He pointed out patterns in the snow, small movements caused by the wind, and reflections from the ice. The twins watched intently, absorbing every detail. They began to anticipate changes in the environment, adjusting their movements accordingly. The dogs assisted by nudging them in the right direction or demonstrating how to respond to shifting conditions. Elias realized that the twins were learning not just survival but awareness, adaptability, and intelligence, skills essential for life in the harsh environment. By evening, the group reached a small plateau overlooking the frozen plains. Elias paused, taking in the breathtaking view. The twins hovered near him, wings steady, glowing eyes wide with wonder. The dogs ran along the edge, playful but cautious, exploring while remaining protective. Elias felt a deep satisfaction. This journey had been more than survival. It had been growth, learning, and connection. The twins and dogs had adapted, thrived, and formed an extraordinary bond with him. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Elias guided them back toward the shelter. The twins hovered beside him when possible, wings fluttering gently, while the dogs ran ahead, ensuring the path was safe. The experience had been challenging but rewarding, and the twins had risen to every opportunity. Elias realized that their transformation was complete. They were no longer the fragile beings he had rescued. They were confident, capable, and filled with life. Back in the shelter, Elias wrapped the twins in warm blankets and prepared a meal. They ate eagerly, wings twitching with renewed energy, while the dogs lay beside them, relaxed but alert. Elias sat back, reflecting on the journey. He had saved lives, nurtured growth, and created bonds that transcended species. The twins and dogs were thriving, exploring, learning, and living fully. That night, Elias stayed close, monitoring the twins' breathing and movements. He marveled at their progress. The twins' wings flickered gently, demonstrating strength and coordination. Their glowing eyes were filled with curiosity, trust, and joy. The dogs curled protectively around them, loyal and attentive. Elias realized that what he had achieved was extraordinary. Through care, patience, and understanding, he had transformed lives, created a family, and shown the power of human empathy. As the night deepened, the twins began experimenting with small flights inside the shelter. They hovered higher, tested new movements, and even played games with each other and the dogs. Elias encouraged them softly, celebrating each success. The twins' glowing eyes reflected confidence and joy. The dogs barked playfully, chasing imaginary paths, demonstrating loyalty and companionship. Elias smiled, knowing that their journey had only just begun but that they were ready for the world ahead. In the following days, Elias continued guided exploration. The twins practiced longer flights, navigating new terrain and refining their skills. The dogs accompanied them, playful and protective. Elias introduced new challenges, hovering over small crevices, navigating ice ridges, and following complex patterns. Each challenge was met with resilience, trust, and determination. The twins had learned to rely on each other, the dogs and Elias forming an unbreakable bond. One morning, Elias led them to a distant ridge, further than they had ever gone. The twins hovered excitedly, wings flapping with confidence, while the dogs ran ahead, leading the way. From the ridge, they could see the frozen plains stretching endlessly, sparkling under the sunlight. The twins' glowing eyes reflected awe and wonder. Elias realized that they had discovered the joy of exploration, the thrill of mastering the world around them, and the power of trust and care. At the ridge, Elias introduced a final exercise, a coordinated flight across a wide snow field. The twins needed to hover, navigate obstacles, and land precisely at a designated spot. They glanced at each other, then at Elias, and nodded. The dogs barked softly, ready to assist. Elias whispered encouragement, and the twins lifted off. Wings flapping steadily, they glided across the snow field, adjusting to wind and terrain, navigating small obstacles and landing gracefully on the other side. Elias clapped softly, overwhelmed with pride. The dogs ran to greet them, joyful and protective. Elias watched as the twins explored independently, their movements confident and playful. They communicated with each other through hums and gestures, coordinating flights and experimenting with new maneuvers. The dogs guided them, nudging gently, providing companionship and protection. Elias realized that this moment was the culmination of everything he had worked for. The twins had transformed from fragile, fading beings into strong, intelligent, and joyful creatures. That evening, back at the shelter, Elias wrapped the twins in warm blankets and prepared a celebratory meal. They ate eagerly, wings flickering with renewed energy. The dogs lay beside them, alert and content. Elias sat back, reflecting on the journey. He had saved lives, nurtured growth, and created a unique family bound by trust, care, and shared experience. The twins and dogs had grown confident, resilient, and full of joy. As night fell, Elias whispered softly to the twins, telling stories of warmth, adventure, and friendship. They hummed in response, wings fluttering brightly. The dogs pressed close, protective yet playful. Elias smiled, knowing that he had not only saved lives but created a future filled with growth, joy, and connection. Life on this frozen planet had been transformed by care, empathy, and human determination. He looked at the twins and dogs, a profound sense of fulfillment settling over him. Together, they had overcome the impossible, survived harsh conditions, and learned to thrive. The twins had discovered strength, confidence, and joy. The dogs had shared loyalty, playfulness, and companionship. Elias had witnessed the extraordinary potential of human empathy and care, realizing that life could flourish in any environment when nurtured with patience, love, and trust. As the stars appeared above the icy plains, Elias sat quietly with the twins and dogs, the warmth of their bodies and the glow of their wings filling the shelter. Outside, the world was vast, cold, and unforgiving, but inside life thrived. Bonds had been forged across species, trust had been built, and joy had returned to fragile beings who once teetered on the edge of survival. Elias knew that the journey ahead would hold new challenges, but for now, they were safe, strong, and together. And in that quiet moment, surrounded by life, warmth, and trust, Elias understood something profound. The universe was vast, harsh, and full of unknowns, but the human heart, capable of care, empathy, and courage, could create miracles that nothing else could. The twins and dogs had survived, thrived, and learned to explore. He had acted when it mattered most, and in doing so, he had shown the extraordinary power of life nurtured with love. The frozen plains outside were silent, glittering under starlight. Inside, life, trust, and joy thrived. Elias watched the twins hover gently, the dogs curled beside them and smiled. Together, they had survived the impossible, learned to trust, and discovered the beauty of life and connection. And with that, he knew the adventure was only beginning, filled with promise, exploration, and the endless potential of those who dare to care.